is a press conference organized by the membership of GALA. We want to say thank you. Despite the short notice, you left everything that you were doing to come and answer to our call. On that note, I want to say thank you so much for coming. And before we start with the statement, we have a statement to read. And at the end of the statement, perhaps we might, allow a few questions if you have any. But on the far right there, let me do a quick introduction. There we have Keksane, an executive member of GALA. We have Nene Freda, who is an advisor to this movement. We have Omar Saibo Kamara, the spokesperson of GALA. You have Mohamed Ika. I cannot take out the Ika Munayin as our national coordinator, and my humble self, Babu Kasi, as the deputy spokesperson. We want to welcome you, and we're not going to keep most of the time here. We have a statement to read. The statement will focus on many aspects, beginning with the President's speech yesterday addressing the nation, to the National Assembly's extraordinary session, and the way forward as far as this movement is concerned. Omar Kamara, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you very much. Good evening, members of the press. The press statement dated Thursday, May 15, 2025 reads: Gambians demand immediate action, not empty promises on Jammeh asset scandal. We acknowledge President Barrow's national address on Wednesday, which came in the wake of the Republic's investigative report and the nationwide protest that follows. The President responded to the pressure and chose to speak to the country on this great matter. However, Gambians Against Looted Assets have reviewed President Adama Barrow's national address on the disposal of assets seized from former President Yahya Jammeh. Whilst we acknowledge his public engagement and the convening of an emergency cabinet meeting, the President's remarks fall far short of the decisive and transparent action demanded by the Gambian people. It is deeply alarming that President Barrow admitted to learn for the first time about some of these asset sales, some of which reportedly occurred during the GALA Commission's proceedings. These admissions raise serious concerns about leadership, oversight, and the competence and compliance of the very task force he established to manage these national assets. These transactions were carried out in the name of the people. The fact that they may have been sold off in secret at questionable prices and without the President's full knowledge points to potential cover-up and a failure of governance. This undermines not only public trust, but the very foundation of the new Gambia. GALA notes the President's reference to the National Assembly and the National Audit Office, but these bodies have their limitations and timelines. Given the urgency and the gravity of these revelations, many of which were outlined in our public petition and further corroborated by the investigative report, the assets of the Gambia's former dictator go for a song, we demand immediate and bold executive actions. GALA's demands are clear and uncompromising. First, full transparency. Complete detailed report or record of all recovered assets, sale proceedings, buyers' identities, and the amount paid. The public is entitled to know how their resources are being handled. Independent investigation. Establish a separate, impartial investigative body with full legal authority and a restricted timeline to come into the sales and management of these assets. This body must be free from political interference and empowered to compel testimonies and access all relevant documentation. Accountability for all involved. Anyone, regardless of rank and political affiliation, found to have engaged in corruption, negligence, and mismanagement must face legal consequences. Gambians will not accept scapegoats whilst those truly responsible remain untouched. Concrete presidential action plan. The President's speech lacked clarity, time-bound roadmap for justice and reform. We urge him to urgently present such a plan to the nation, outlining how his government will rectify this scandal and prevent future abuse of public trust. This is a defining moment for President Adama Barrow and for our democracy. The people of the Gambia will not profit by speeches. We demand swift, transparent and uncompromising action. Looting of our national assets in the name of justice is a betrayal that cannot be ignored. On the National Assembly extraordinary sitting, GALA will have preferred an independent NAM who is not part of the ruling party to head the committee. We cannot be both a player at the same time a referee in the same game. Such an arrangement lacks an impartiality and credibility required to get to the heart of the scandal. The Gambian people deserve more than a political charity dressed up as an oversight. We know the selection committee have been made already. Though we are unhappy with this leadership, we will let them do their job whilst we watch them closely. Finally, we reject and condemn the legal arrest of our members by the Gambia Police Force in the last weekend and peaceful protest is a constitutional right, not a crime. Targeting citizens who are standing up for transparency and justice is a blatant abuse of power. We call on the police to remember that their duty is as custodians of the law, not tools of intimidation, and not to act in service of people, not political interests. Such actions only strengthen our resolve and expose the very route we are fighting to uphold. Equally, we have learned about state ministers issuing threats to citizens for participating in a peaceful and lawful protest. We call on the ministers to withdraw and apologize, as we will not be intimidated by anyone. Finally, to every Gambian, home and abroad, we express our deepest gratitude. Thank you for standing by the truth, standing by GALA, and for helping ensure our collective voices are not gone unheard. Some of our demands have already begun to gain traction, and this momentum must not stop. We urge all citizens to remain vigilant, vocal, and unfailing fighting for accountability. The youth are the future of this country. It's not enough to hope for change. We must be the change. We cannot remain passive whilst a few explore our national wealth for their own benefit. GALA stand firm and call on all Gambians to do the same. Together we will ensure that justice is not just spoken but served. GALA will continue to mobilize, expose and hold accountable all those who seek to profit from our injustice. We all call on all Gambians to remain engaged, informed and united in the pursuit of accountability and protection of our national wealth. Signed, Omar Saibo Kamara, spokesperson, Gambia against looted assets.
Thank you very much, spokesperson Omar Saibo Kamara. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the statement. We will share it shortly on the PDF. We have the soft copy. We will share it to you all. At this juncture, we will allow questions and answers if you have any towards the movement, towards the statement. The floor is open. Just introduce yourself and yes, please.
Okay, so thank you very much. My question will go to Omar Saibo, the spokesperson of Gambian GALA. So my first question is, we know the National Assembly are currently on seeking to establish a committee that will, look or investigate the forfeited assets from the former president. Don't you think it would have been very important if the National Assembly engaged members of GALA to be part of the committee in establishing that very committee that would be looking into the people or investigating as to how some of these assets were served?
That's a difficult question. I think it's important to be an oversight from the outside than being on the table. However, we still would affirm that there could be a representation either from the media or from the civil society. We would have recommended from the civil society to have a representative. In fact, that is one of the things we outlined in our petition when we talk about the composition of an investigative panel, to have a civil society. But for GALA, let us stay outside and watch closely, watch far, and ensure that the needful is done.
Okay, so my second question is, you talked about a state minister uttering threats to, we know Rohim Malik Lowe and Esa Falwa, the individuals that he mentioned during one of their rallies. But we also had a National Assembly member inside Parliament uttering unparliamentary statements directed to young people, calling them cockroaches and mice. What is the stand of GALA with regards to that statement?
I'll allow the national coordinator to answer that. I will put him on spot, but I'll allow my boss to answer that.
Oh, come on. Okay, yes, I think I should be fine here. So, thank you for the question. And the first one, that is a state minister receiving threats to citizens. You are the one that mentioned names. We are not going to mention names. Because
for clarity purposes.
How we first see individuals in this country is by their nationality as Gambians and not in their capacity as mayors or ministers. Whether the threat is to Rohit Malik Law or to Esa Fall, we see the threat as a threat towards a Gambian that participated in a lawful protest to ask for transparency and accountability. The state minister authored these threats before Gambians who did not condemn him. But today, we take this set to ask the state minister to withdraw and apologize, as we are never going to be intimidated by empty threats from state minister towards citizens of this country. So the second part, that is the honorable member for Sabak Sanjal that authored unpleasant and derogatory statements towards the members of GALA and the Gambian people at large, because it was an affront to the youth of this country that stood shoulder to shoulder to see to it that transparency and accountability, was done. He apologized yesterday before we even left the parliament, but it is not in our power as GALA to accept apologies from people. The guy should go on TV to apologize to the Gambian people for insulting them. I think that is what I have.
Yeah, thank you. Omar, you've mentioned about Ibrahim, who was brutalized at the station. Do you consider any legal steps against the police or the IGP?
Yes, so I think I responded to this question some time ago in the TV that for now we are concerned about Ibrahim's health, that we are monitoring, and then he is seeking for medical attention, and we are supporting him to do that. So after that, GALA will sit down. Now moving forward, we will be able to determine what kind of actions we're going to take. But for now, what is more important to us is Ibrahim to recover fully and join us as the movement continues to seek for accountability and transparency. Thank you.
So I have a final question, if I will be allowed.
Before you come in, please let anyone
In local languages, please as well.
Yeah, we are fine. If there's none, then we can come.
Okay, so Sabo, during your deliberation, you made mention that you people will allow the National Assembly to do their work, even though you are aware of the setup of the committee. But if at all this setup is finalized and you come to confirm that there are people who are conflicted with regards to the current issues at hand, what would be GALA's stand towards that?
So mbafala mandika kawalla ay mindinin ka wala ndenti National Assembly special committee le da mon le kafu nyoma ko e jiberoke ye kisi roke investigative report o bimbota republic pour ka tonya yandi fo tonya lam bam fo tonya te jumalle bulo nota je jumalle sandiroke jumalle wafiroke National Assembly kunun neng ya musono nyim pass e kuma kawo nyim pass bi itata ye kafo nyim ya londi commission dale mi ya musono nyim move ay kafo min propose wala selection committee National Assembly mi ya lonko speaker fon faba honorable faba ka tombo jata wala nga nyaton koti ye min adala kafo mo ye mol min tombong pour ye jibero ka jikuwa kam National Assembly ya asateni ne sonta la komi wo mol ni wala nyanda ka continue pour ka kiskisi ro nyike to nyaalam wo mol ni mimbe nyaton kayaka NPP kola mol fanambe committee kilon kono mi yalon ko dol mu UDP kolleti do be je mi yalan ko mu NRP quality do be je mi yalan ko mu independent candidate ala si parliament ko conflict de wo be tarragel conflict wala njenti ila politico ite be damen anin do ko woni abe do ko woni kiskisi do ni abe tilin kam mol minna ite bo wolle kono conflict nyimbina won bari national assembly itolbe be gambia no represent ka iko isontale ka foni yemil londi pour ya continuer ndol min be banda nko ni atara ka foni mallo wo nyama dum dol bella fila wolla bari sen ka foni lota wala nyama dol te kuno la wota bari ni sa kuno dame wala nyeti mba en solale ngatani nyulu jube kan ibe la do ko kala nyame fo be do ko nyinke kan kula ban fo mandara ka ke ku mbe tamo dire la mba jibe la ila do ko nyimbita kan nyame nindol fe komin amanta ta kan ku mbe findila la kotenke ka tandi mol la komi bita kan nyame mantari ta kan ku sen del lafta kan min tandi mol la wala nyenti ndolu mam fanke government baditi mam fanke police soldi but in total we are a legitimate oversight body mi ya lonko banku dimol lenti ninga fengo fenja mi yanu ka manda ta kan banku kan kuke mba folale andu be bulala noman nam soli ya mili tambindi nyato mba mi fole wala nyenti gambia no le tol kenyi i bota patil le to bari gambia no li be wolle je ye tambindi nyato le ko e do ko mbe bulala le katum man sembo soto ka fo ete do ko nyi kala katum ton mo le mi ango ngalwa buñale ngalwa noma mbe bulala ye la do ko ke bari ya lon fanan ko nte bulala wonyama doron ka ko mi bitale min diate yaake mbetarre jibe kanne andu ninga je ko mi bitaka nyame man ta kan ku ba fa la gambe no le man ta kan ku andu be wullale ma tandi mon la koy man ta kan ku la ba.
Thank you so much. Any more questions? If there is none, then